Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Unquestionably Raw NBA podcast. And today we have a first-time guest. Everybody who watches the Sim Hangout knows him. Luke Cage, artist, Nelson Blake II. How are you this evening, Nelson?
Fantastic, guys. Thanks for having me.
Sir, yes, sir. And then he's been on with us before. It was a while back when we did our NBA 2K17 review. Forbes writer, Brian Mazik. How's it going, Brian?
I'm feeling quite sexy.
Yes. And then my two co-hosts, Pete Toll. How are you doing?
I'm good, man.
Outstanding. And none other than DJ Gonzo Star. What's going on, Gonzo?
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Oh, man, we're doing good. All right, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. I know the holidays are coming up, so thank you for everyone for tuning in with us tonight. We're going to start off. We got some injury news. Paul Millsap of the Denver Nuggets. He's now out with the wrist injury 2 to 3 months. Pete, what's this going to do to this Denver team?
Well, Jokic is already not the greatest defensively, so it's going to hurt them there. Kenneth Faried is definitely going to have to step in, take an increased role. We're really going to see what he can do on the defensive end. We know he can hustle and rebound. Now he's going to have to bring another defensive end. I think you'll also see Wilson Chandler kind of slide up to the 4 and kind of play the small ball lineups. You'll have Gary Harris play the 3, and then you'll have Will Barton in there quite a bit as well. So kind of varied lineups. You may also see Juancho Hernan-Gomez get some minutes because I know Denver likes him pretty well, good potential, can knock down the threes, athletic enough to run the wing. I saw where a couple people mentioned that Tyler Lydon might get in the rotation. There's no way that Tyler Lydon is going to be an NBA player this year, maybe even next year. I think he's a little bit too raw. But Denver needs to be working.
2 years away from being 2 years away?
No, he's not Bruno Caboclo bad, but he's a little raw, he's a little green. Let's say that. Denver is in the advantage that the Clippers are kind of taking a little dip, the Jazz and the Grizzlies, so they're kind of right there in that kind of same mold. So we'll see how they face adversity.
Mm-hmm. And the Jazz and the Grizzlies both have big injuries. Gobert for the Jazz and Conley for the Grizzlies. Nelson, how bad does this hurt Denver losing Paul Millsap?
Yeah, it hurts him a lot in the sense that when you look at the playoff race, it's extremely tight from 4 really to 10 right now. Mm-hmm. Just in terms of the way teams are trending. And we'll see Utah because Utah has been very up and down. They've got the injuries. That's a team that sometimes goes on a run towards the middle of the year. They gain consistency and just kind of slow and steady. So when you look at the outside looking in on the playoffs as of right now, the truly threatening teams are OKC, Los Angeles, and Utah. Like Phoenix, they've been playing a lot better since Earl Watson's been gone, but they haven't looked good. They don't look good enough to necessarily come back and do anything. So that's left to be seen. But Los Angeles has consistently looked better than last year. Everybody expects OKC to get it together because the first 3-quarter production has been tops in the league on both ends basically, and they just got to figure out how to play in the fourth quarter. And they probably have only lost 1 or 2 games by now. So in that sense, Denver needs to be very wary because every other team in the playoffs is close to a lock. Memphis could get out of there. New Orleans has been surprising compared to how they looked last year. So that's it's a tough break for them, and their team has always done everything by committee. Maybe they can figure out losing one guy, but Millsap is such a big energy guy and does so many little things. It's tough to fill that gap.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Brian. What do you think with the Denver Nuggets losing Paul Millsap?
Honestly, I think I think it's going to be a big deal. I think Millsap is one of the best defensive power forwards in the league. Not to mention his ability to stretch the floor with shooting the 3 and to knock down the mid-range jump shot. But also keep an eye on Richard Jefferson. Perhaps he hasn't really been incorporated very much in their regular rotation. But if they go small. And they're looking for an energy guy, and they're looking for some guy with some versatility. If they go small, they could turn to Richard Jefferson. Paul Millsap is only like 6'8", So we're talking about guys who are generally about the same size, similar skill sets in terms of being able to stretch the floor. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Richard Jefferson get some run, especially since Denver is not necessarily in that stage where they're still rebuilding. They're looking to have some actual success. So going to a veteran might be something that you see them do. For whatever reason, they fell out of love with Kenneth Faried a long time ago. I'm surprised he's still even there. He's like the OJ Mayo of power forwards. His name is always in trade rumors. He just hasn't gotten traded yet. I mean, OJ, it was a crazy.
It's funny because their careers both they got off to really good starts.
Yeah.
And I mean, Faried downhill after a couple years.
Faried reminds me of, and this is without the little mid-range jump shot, but he reminds me a lot of Brian Grant. Their games, that energy, keep the ball alive, just be a force on the offensive glass. Brian Grant was a smarter defender, and he wasn't quite the athlete Faried is, but he was a little smarter of a defender, so he made himself a little bit more valuable there. But I see players sometimes now. I say to myself, if they modeled their game after this guy and played within themselves, I used to say that about Tyrese Thomas. I always thought if Tyrese Thomas modeled his game after Dennis Rodman, he'd have been amazing. But, you guys, want to be whatever they want to be. But he reminds me of him. I just don't know why Denver doesn't seem to like him.
Gonzo, what do you got for us with Paul Millsap?
Crushing blow. I'm kind of sad about that, man, because, for some strange reason, I've always liked Paul Millsap. I've always think he's been a very underrated power forward. I don't think he really gets the credit that he deserves, considering that he's undersized and he still managed to put up the numbers that he does, plays the defense that he does. Not to mention he helped Atlanta make the playoffs. He was actually pretty good on the Jazz. Like, he just never really got that recognition that I thought he deserved. But yeah, that's a crushing blow. But like, Denver's known for using players, by committee. I think they have a deep enough roster where they can, probably plug somebody in at the power forward position for the next couple of months. Hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later. I think they actually had a shot to making the playoffs, and if they can hold it together for the next couple of months, I think they can still make the playoffs.
They do have a lot of talent on that roster. Hopefully Jamal Murray's shooting gives us a little uptick. All that stuff. But it's definitely going to affect them not having Paul Millsap. I mean, he's a multi-time All-Star. Anytime you lose a guy like that, it's going to hurt. And this nonsense like you see all around the league when the Clippers they're better without him. We're seeing that this year. Are they better without him? So it's going to hurt. But I think, like Nelson said, it's very, from like 4 through 8, and then even like the Lakers, they're there as well. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. It's good for fans. But I want to get into.
Won't be there anymore.
Hey, the Lakers got the Bulls tonight, so they can get another win.
Hey, watch it.
Hey, I'm a Bulls fan too, but they're bad. I don't know how they beat Charlotte the other night.
I really don't either. I mean, Kemba Walker had like 87 points, and they still won.
And what's crazy is the Bulls scored over 100.
Yeah.
Hey, Zach LaVine's coming back soon, so you're going to see a lot of shots put up. He's gunning for his next contract, so it's going to be a lot of shots.
Markkanen's still the best player on that team.
And Dunn's starting now too.
Chris Dunn started today.
Thank God! Finally.
Yeah, he's actually looked good for them.
Yeah, I just want him to.
But Pete, I got to go.
Yeah, he needs to get a little bit more consistent on the offensive end, but defensively, he's already there.
You know what, though? The game he had 26 and 22 minutes. Yeah. He also had 5 fouls in 22 minutes. I thought he was going to get indicted for assault. It was just insane. Like, you can't slap the black off people in the game, bro. You can't do that. I mean, he's just ripping pigment off people. I'm like, bro, you gotta pace yourself with these fouls. You can't do that.
I'm all for sitting Jerry Grant though, because I mean, do you agree that Jerry Grant is not an NBA point guard? I mean, I think he's a
backup point guard. That's what
I would say a Cameron Payne type backup where you sit and watch.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm better than Cameron Payne. I can beat him.
Just to hear,
coach.
What is it? Gar Foreman came out and said that basically they're going to have Payne stick, or that's why they picked up his option. They want to see what he can do because he ran the scout team.
As Isaiah Thomas very well.
Yeah, I was like, what? I'm like, how does that justify keeping Cameron Payne on the roster?
You know, that it doesn't justify. What it is it says we made another bad trade, and we don't want to admit that as quickly because we already kind of under fire. Everybody's asking for our jobs.
Right.
So, but now I will say this. Nobody is giving them credit for drafting marketing.
No.
I think people are talking about it. They're talking about how good marketing is. I hear it a lot.
They're talking about how good marketing is, but they're not giving them credit for picking him.
Right.
You know, it's like everybody in Chicago, we are ripping guard, and they deserve it. We are ripping them a new one. But they did draft they drafted probably the most impressive real rookie, because, you know, Ben Simmons is the rookie of the year, but he wasn't a part of this draft class.
Right,
Out of the guys that are a part of this draft class, he's arguably the best right now.
No, over Jason Tatum,
right? I say arguably. Look at dude. If you
marking is better than Tatum. Yeah.
I mean, I think
and Gonzo's a Tatum guy,
and I'm a Tatum guy. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's arguable. Right. I mean, I wouldn't say he's definitively better, but it's definitely it's right there.
I'm gonna have to say definitively better, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because you watch a lot of those Bulls games, 15-8, and they not even letting him play the fourth quarters.
And he's not even getting the looks.
Yeah, he's
now, of course, Gonzo, we saying this, and he 0 for 3 to start the game right now. But you know,
here's the thing. I think the one thing that's not fair about that comparison is Channing Tatum is a major piece on the best team in the league.
Channing Tatum is also.
I'm sorry, Jason Tatum. I'm just saying that. I'm calling this guy Channing Tatum in my head for weeks. Like literally every conversation, I have to switch it in my head. Jason Tatum, he is in such a high pressure situation for a rookie. It's different when you're on a really bad team and you're putting up numbers in very low pressure situations. You're not expected to win every game. To playing the Golden State Warriors, guarding Kevin Durant, and like dunking on Golden State Warriors. You know what I mean? Dunking on, you know, prominent Dallas Mavericks players, you know, in crunch time and stuff like that. Like, I think you know, it's very hard to look at a player's numbers on a losing team and compare it to a rookie in that situation at that high of a level. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that he's, you know, hands down better. I'm just saying that it's a very tough comparison.
Well, I think you could actually kind of spin that the other way too, because Jason Tatum is playing on a more talented team, and so there's a lot of pressure taken off of him offensively because he doesn't have to. He's not looked at to carry any load off it. It's almost like whatever offense they get from Jason Tatum is almost a bonus because they have so many other guys to score.
I would disagree with that in the sense that his role, he is counted on.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like he's a major player. Like he has to be very good for them to keep this winning streak alive, and they have kept it alive. So I don't just look at the scoring because honestly, if you're a really talented rookie, we've seen many talented rookies come in and score, and fall short defensively and get sat down. He's doing.
No, he defends.
He's defending, and so I'm much more impressed by a rookie defending at a high level than a rookie putting up buckets, especially on a bad team where somebody got to score. You know what I'm saying?
Which is why Nelson is a big Frank Ntilikina fan.
I am a Frank Ntilikina fan because the kid defends.
Oh yeah.
He does?
Yep.
Let me
at a very high level.
Yeah.
Let me
go ahead, Pete.
Let me ask this real quick, Matt, because I know you want to transition to the next.
No,
topic.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Since we're already on the Bulls, what do you think happens with Nikola Mirotic when he comes back? Does he stay with the Bulls, or do they look to move him? Is that just something that's is completely broken, never going to be repairable? What do you think happens? Go ahead, Mazik, because you're the Bulls guy, so I'm going to let you go.
You take that one, Brian.
I really think they have to move him. I really do. I think they had to move him even before this, though. It makes no sense to keep Nikola Mirotic. It doesn't. He's one of the few guys that you would consider trading that has even a smidgen of trade value. A smidgen. Like, and when I say smidgen, I mean the Bulls, you should run out of whatever the Advocate Center screaming and yelling if you can get a second-round pick for him. A late one. But to me, if you can get – so you basically – he's on the last year of his deal, and there's a team option for next year for the same amount, $12.5 million or $13 million, something to that effect. So you already know there's no way in the world you can justify picking that option up. I don't see how you can. To me, putting anybody who can potentially be in Nikola Mirotic's way, I mean, be in Lauri Markkanen's way or in the way of his development is a bad decision. Not to mention there are all these chemistry issues. I personally would consider trading Bobby Portis too. Just me personally, just because if the Bulls are in a position where you ask yourself, is this guy a killer? Is because we suck. Okay. So at this point, the only people you need to really be salvaging and bringing in and saying, I want to make sure that this guy's on my team is a guy who because we don't have our killers in place yet. We got Markkanen, and we think that that's whatever that is. We haven't seen Zach LaVine yet. The jury's still out on Chris Dunn. You're waiting on this draft pick that could turn into whoever or whatever. But to me, the Bulls still need to be in a position where they're adding assets, no matter what those assets turn out to be. And I think that Mirotic is dead weight at this point, and they really need to cut that zero and find a hero.
And he hasn't, even when he's played, he hasn't been very good. He jacks up 30-foot shots unnecessarily. Like, there's a time and a place, and they're on a big run, and he'll just jack up a 30-foot shot. And all the time you hear it's Stacey King. What are you doing, Nico?
Watch Greg Popovich go and get him and turn him into a championship ring.
And that could happen.
You're right.
It could happen here.
Yeah,
it's just not. He needs because I do believe he has some really nice scoring instincts. He'll never be much else anywhere else.
Right.
He'll go to Golden State.
But I do think he has some scoring instinct. But the only problem when his psyche is as fragile as a college kicker. I mean, his psyche is very fragile. And if you watch Nico play, as I've watched him play his entire career in the NBA,
confidence,
very fragile, man. He's the type of dude, he missed 3 or 4 shots in a row, and now he's loafing back on defense. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. And, we don't need that in our life.
Mario Hezonja does the same thing. If he doesn't hit his first shot or two, then, I mean, you might as well sit him back on the bench.
Yeah.
And he's another guy.
All right,
high
Pete,
on.
I got to go to you for this one, though. We're going to talk a little Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. And, inevitably this is going to come up.
All right.
The better player. Who's got the better future? I got to do it. We got to do it, Pete. And I got to go to you first.
Are you asking me who's the better player right now or who you would build around?
I think it's fair to actually ask who the better player is right now. I actually think you can go both because I think it's actually a fair question. Phenomenal.
I mean, I would say because of both ends of the floor, I would say Embiid for me. Because until Ben Simmons, I mean, it's working right now, being able to get in the lane and things like that, but he still has trouble finishing sometimes because he tries to finish with his left hand. But I think until he can respectfully, consistently knock down that 15 to 18 footer on a regular basis, I'm going to pick Embiid just because of the array of moves in the post, being able to step out to the three, coming up as a trailer on the 3-point shot, and then defensively, I mean, just being able to change shots and then, of course, block everything that he can possibly get his hands on as well. And, you see his impact, from last season. He's only, as he said, 69% healthy right now. And, I mean, he's taken the league by storm, at the center spot. And to me, he's arguably –
who said he's 69% healthy?
He said it himself.
He's trolling, as usual.
Yeah, he's trolling like he always is.
I didn't see that. That's why I asked.
At the end of the game. And
sounds like something he would say.
Yeah, he thought about it for a second and said 69%. So, I think you could put him up there as one of the best centers in the NBA as far as on both ends of the floor right now. Not the best center.
And we're gonna get there in a minute too. We're gonna get to that to that too.
I'm a little biased because obviously I'm a Sixers fan, but personally, until I can see more, because you never know, they could shut Ben Simmons down as far as driving in the lane. If he still has trouble finishing, through contact, and sometimes even finishing on regular layups by himself, that could cause a problem if that jumper doesn't come into the equation.
Gonzo, what about you? Who do you got, Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid? Since they've both been fantastic.
Joel Embiid, and I would have to say because he's good on the offensive end, array of moves, he can post up. He even has like the dream up and under. He has a lot of moves that you see from 80s centers almost. Decent defender on the other end. He can step back and hit the three. And I think he has one ability, I think, that a lot of the older players had. He had an ability to get inside of the opponent's head and throw them off their game somewhat. Not all the players, but I think he has the ability to rattle some players a little bit. So I'm going to say Joel Embiid.
Okay. Nelson, I know. Who do you got?
Okay, now I got to say right off the bat, comparing a guy in his first 50 games to, I guess in a way they're both early in their career, but Joel Embiid has been in the NBA technically for like 4 years, and he spent a lot of that time not playing, and we still have yet to see how healthy he can be. Whereas they just redshirted Ben Simmons so that he would heal fully, and since then he looks like he's solid as a rock.
Right.
This is Ben's rookie year. These are his first few games played, and he's playing like outrageously good. And y'all, if you watch Sim Nation, my philosophy on young players is you got to wait and see how they develop. You know what I mean? They're not just young players, they're also young people.
Right.
So you don't know where it's going. But Ben is starting out he's like historically good.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ben is like young LeBron good.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I was just about to say that.
Fully agree with that.
And if y'all remember young LeBron, he actually was a really bad defender when he first started out.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned into a monster defender in his prime. And now he turns it on and turns it off when he has to. But, he doesn't shoot as well as LeBron did. Even though LeBron was never thought of as a shooter, he shot well enough that it was a factor. And, obviously Ben is not even taking shots outside of, 15
What's he taking, 6 threes this year?
7.
7. Yeah.
7? Okay,
And he
7.
missed them all.
And I bet one of them was just a heave at the buzzers,
He missed
probably.
them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's, and the thing is, he's not dumb enough to take shots that aren't good shots for him. But the things about his game that are working at such a high level that I just need to see more from both of them. Because with Embiid, when he's on the court, is again historically good. Rachel Nichols said everybody thought she was crazy when she was like he might be better than Hakeem one day. I'm like, now hold on. She said one day. She didn't mean tomorrow. But when you look,
people just can't. They don't. People in the world just don't listen.
Right.
So you say one thing and they disagree with the first 2 words. What?
Right. Yeah.
They hear what they want to hear.
Yes.
And you got to think of later down the line, when we're not alive anymore, that next generation might view Hakeem totally different of how we view him.
Hakeem was amazing, but the fact of the matter is, Hakeem wasn't really ever the hands down best player in the league.
Right.
Joel Embiid does have that opportunity. You know what I mean? I think Hakeem was arguably the best player in those championship years.
Right when Mike retired.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. Mike was taking vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
He was the best player suiting up at the time, but we all knew what would happen when Mike came back, and it wasn't really close, as great as Hakeem was.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid is bigger than Hakeem, and he has much more range on his jumper than Hakeem, and looks like a young approximation in every other category. So if he stays healthy, and if he improves the way every player his age has improved, being better than Hakeem is within the distance. But Ben Simmons being an approximation of a young LeBron James is bananas. We're not supposed to see this for another 10, 15 years. LeBron is still in the league. And this kid is not just his individual play, but the fact that Philadelphia is winning games. This is a team that even when Embiid played, I mean, they were much better when Embiid played, but they didn't look like they had it together. And just the presence of Ben Simmons being there all the time, running a point, they look like a playoff team going down the next 3-4 years. And for that reason, he has the ball in his hands all the time. And he looks like he is sturdier in terms of, the health-wise, fingers crossed. I would pick Ben Simmons based on that right now.
Nice. What about you, Brian?
I would have to agree with Mr. Blake. I would, because, and it's for a lot of those reasons. I do think Embiid is a heck of a talent, but I think that Ben Simmons is more of a difference maker. I really do. I think on the floor, he affects more things. Joel Embiid looks like the kind of guy who could get you an empty 20-15 for teams that win 25 to 32 games every single year. And he just puts up ridiculous monster DeMarcus Cousins-like numbers, and they don't win. But Ben Simmons will average 15, 9, and 8, and will never miss the playoffs any year he plays in the league.
Right. Control every possession almost. Just being there.
It's crazy, but it's so tripped out. Embiid, if you count their college games and their pro games, Embiid has played like 73 games total between college and the NBA. Right. Ben Simmons has played 49. That's insane. And it's tripped out because I think I say that to say it's probably too early to be evaluating either of them on a grand scale. Right. Because neither of them have played enough games between NBA and college combined to even play an entire NBA season. So, but yeah, I mean, Ben Simmons, from what I've seen thus far, is the one I would take.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that one. And Pete knows this. He knows how biased I am on this topic because you remember, Pete, I said in like 3 years, Ben Simmons is going to be the best player in the league.
Yeah, you did.
I'm sticking to it. I think we're probably all in agreement. He's probably the best rookie we've seen overall since LeBron James has come in the league.
Yeah,
like as a rookie, he's been fantastic. Yeah. I mean, and look what they did in Utah. That game Embiid sat for.
I will say, as great as he's been, don't sleep on Dame Lillard's rookie year. Like he had like a monster rookie year that he don't get a lot of credit for, and he's been like an elite point guard ever since. It does not get a lot of credit. I'm just saying that to mention him, but yeah, I agree. Overall, Ben Simmons is the most impressive rookie talent I've seen since LeBron, and he came in so much less heralded than LeBron. Like I literally watched LeBron's high school games before he was drafted.
Yeah, so did I.
Ben Simmons was like, hey, this guy might be kind of like LeBron, except obviously much worse. And in the games played so far, he's not much worse. He's a relative approximation, which LeBron James is probably top 3 to top 5 at worst players ever. I don't know if y'all disagree or agree with that. I put him top 3, top 5.
I agree.
Yeah, I think he's definitely top 3 for me.
Yeah,
he's number 6 for me.
Okay. Who's your 6, Gonzo?
LeBron's number 6.
Yeah, but well, who's your 5 before that?
I have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, LeBron James.
Okay.
That's a good list, though.
Nice, you got Kobe in there. I like it.
I almost vomited.
Kobe's in my
mouth when you said Kobe.
I would have to put LeBron over Kobe personally, but that's just me.
Yeah, LeBron goes over Kobe.
I got LeBron over Kobe, but I still got Kobe very high.
Yeah, I got Kobe relatively high, but I got
him in the top 8, but I don't know that.
There was a time I had Dwayne Wade over Kobe.
Ooh.
Whoa! Hold on. That's blasphemous.
He's from Chicago.
I always felt
Derrick Rose is in that top 10 discussion.
I always felt that Dwayne Wade scored more efficiently and almost as prolific, but more efficient. And on defense, Dwayne Wade was a monster on defense. Best shot blocking guard probably in the history of the game. He had the versatility to play 1 and 2. I mean, Dwayne
He's having
Wade.
to play the one right now because Derrick Rose is out again.
Hey, I wouldn't want Derrick Rose in the game anyways for them.
Hey, what is going on?
I'm
Like,
just,
I let that
hey,
I'm a little
see, here's the thing. I see a lot on Twitter, like when you say something bad, people get mad when you talk about Derrick Rose, and I understand it because I think some people take it like a lot of people think he shouldn't even be in the NBA, which is nonsense.
That's
I
ridiculous.
don't get it.
Those are people who take a huge puff right after they say things.
Those are the type players.
I was talking to a guy on Twitter. I was going back and forth with a dude on Twitter, and he was like, "Man, all these fucking stat nerds, man, they don't even think he should be in the league anymore." I'm like, "Nah, I'm not going to go that far. That's
why those stat nerds have never picked up a basketball and couldn't even make a Division III team. So, sorry, but I mean it's true.
Hey,
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you, man. Rose is nowhere near the guy he was. He isn't. It's actually painful to watch early Chicago highlights. It hurts. Like, it hurts me, right? And I hate it. I mean, I love it, but then I hate it at the same time. It's crazy. But I mean, I still do believe that there are some things that in the league that he can still do effectively. Like, I think his best role is as a 6-man who comes in and plays 20 to 24 minutes, and your only thing is go get buckets.
Yeah, don't ask him to pass.
Yes.
Go get buckets.
Spurs.
And
He
that's
should go
just
to the Spurs.
The Spurs.
and then you come back and sit. And if you really, really hot and you really, really got it going, then you're on the floor at the end of the game. But to me, that's the role for him now. And
is he willing to accept that role, do you think?
You know what? I think he would. I do think he would, especially on a team like Cleveland. Because I made this comment and people lost their minds on Twitter. I felt like if Derrick Rose played 6-man and he won 6-man of the year with Cleveland and Cleveland won the championship and he got a ring, that he's a Hall of Famer.
Damn.
I actually agree.
Just think about what I'm saying. There's never been a player in the NBA, in NBA history, who has won the MVP and is not a Hall of Famer, or who is not a 100% lock because he's still playing, but we just waiting on the eligibility.
But how many MVPs got injured to that degree, though?
Right, that's what I was going to.
You're right. Rose has set a whole new precedent with the injury and the injury history. But I think that if you combine that with another significant individual award, like the 6-man,
right,
and then you give him a championship ring, I think that definitely improves.
Here's the thing. I understand why you're saying that, and that's a lot of parentheticals and asterisks and caveats to shoot a boy into the Hall of Fame, and I'll forgive it. But here's the problem: when you look at the amount of games missed, then you have to look at the games that he played. And people keep talking about the MVP, which is, we all know there are so many MVPs that Jordan and Shaq and and LeBron. And I would even say Kobe should have gotten. Dwayne Wade should have gotten that other people got at different times, right? So MVP for me, you have to look at the actual MVP year. And the thing about his MVP year, it was actually kind of similar to Kyrie in Boston right now, right? Where, yeah, Kyrie is technically, very technically the best player on the best team, but he is not a one-man show by any stretch of the imagination. This is a system team where the defense is a winning team's defense that was winning before he got there. They're winning when he's not playing. And in his role, he is excelling, but his role is not comparable to the role that most MVPs have, right? So you look at hold on, let me just finish my point. Even on a winning team, when you look at Shaq and Tim Duncan and Kobe and with LeBron on their team, they're doing so much. They're just filling up the stat sheet. They get the ball in the end all the times. They're carrying a lot of things, and sometimes these
playing
teams
defense. And
here's the thing: those players I mentioned weren't being carried on defense the way Derrick Rose has always was carried by
no.
Thibodeau. His defense was he was never a great defensive player. He was just a guy who played lanes and gambled. He was never a lockdown guy.
No, he was never a lockdown defender, but he was an above average defensive point guard during the MVP season. After that, all hell broke loose.
Okay, so you're saying for one season he had a good defensive.
We're talking about the MVP season.
No, but what I'm saying though is like usually when you have that MVP season, you look at the years right before and the years surrounding, and you've got these monster numbers. Right. He doesn't have those monster numbers.
Well, he's not going to have that before because he's the youngest MVP in the history of the game. So he's not going to have a great
which is why he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. He got an early MVP and then stopped playing basketball and came back.
He was the MVP. Put him in the third year in the.
You talk about while he rode the bench, and then he got a championship. Put him in the Hall of Fame. His criteria does not match up with a lot of people that's been.
I'm just saying. If you and I understand what you're saying. It is a very the criteria does not totally present itself and stand alone like, hey, I don't need no support. It's not. It definitely is. Derrick Rose's career is the biggest just anomaly, weird situation, just all together, right? But if somebody came up to you and said, this guy won the MVP, run 6-man, and he got a championship ring, and you didn't attach it to a name, and I just told you that resume, you'd say that guy's a Hall of Fame.
No, I wouldn't. Because
you'd have to look at the stats across the board for multiple seasons. You'd have to look at a baseline of work over a 15-year period. If only for 3 out of the 15 years.
And let me give you an example. Here's how your case would work, and I got a name for you. Grant Hill, right? Yeah. So Grant Hill, in some ways, has some parallels to Derrick Rose, right?
Some way. Yeah.
But here's the thing: when Grant Hill came back, he was such an intelligent player. If Grant Hill had gone to the Spurs and won rings, I could take an argument for him being in the Hall of Fame, because when he was on the teams that he was on as a veteran, he was so solid. He was nothing like he was when he was looking like he was going to get into that LeBron, Scottie Pippen collection of small forwards. But when he came back as a role player, he was super solid. Derrick Rose has been an extremely flawed player mentally after he's come back. Physically, even though he's gotten dinged up, he has still been pretty explosive and stuff like that. But as a point guard, he has such a low IQ that he does not have the performance, regardless of what ridiculous accolades he lucks into. He does not have the performance to justify rewarding that with the Hall of Fame after the injury. He's not solid. He's just
But good. These are good points, because Grant Hill, when he got hurt, it was he had played the 7 years. It was the playoffs that 7th year. He hurts his ankle. Then he goes to Orlando. So he had 7. And at the time he got hurt, he was arguably the second best player in the league behind Shaq at the time, because I think it was 2000 he got hurt.
Yeah, I mean,
he made an all-star. He made an all-star team with the Magic. So he was still pretty good.
I'm talking about even with the Suns, man. With the Suns, he was such a good vet.
He was their best. He was one of their best defensive players. He was guarding Kobe and stuff.
And he gained a 3-point shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, Grant Hill was, I think, in some ways is comparable. And I do think that if Grant Hill picked up a couple of championships with San Antonio, I think his case for a Hall of Fame is probably stronger than Rose.
Because he also has Duke, and
Yeah, he also had a longer stretch of elite performance. He was elite for longer than Rose was. Mm-hmm. Rose was literally elite for probably 2 seasons.
Well, y'all say he was elite. I never signed on to that.
Well,
I would say he was elite the MVP year and the year after. That because he got hurt in the playoffs. I'd say he was elite.
I didn't think in any of those years he was better than Chris Paul. And when you look at his generation of point guards, you look at John Wall, Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard. I don't think Derrick Rose was ever better than those guys' best years. And I think that matters because you're judged against your contemporaries. So when I say even in his best year, how does he measure up in his generation? I would still not take best year Derrick Rose over any of those guys in their best year so far.
I would take best year Derrick Rose over best year Kyrie. because I think that Derek at his best as a defender is better than Kyrie at his best as a defender. They both are unguardable off the dribble. Now, Kyrie is a better jump shot shooter for sure. But
and that got him a championship.
Now, playing next to the best player on the planet got him a championship.
Nah, that jump shot. No, seriously. Like, and I have a lot of criticism. I have a lot of criticism for
Kyrie. Jump shot before LeBron got there and he was winning 25 games.
No, it's again, like we talked about earlier, when you perform on the highest level consistently. Like Kyrie had monster numbers against the Golden State Warriors, who are the best defensive team in the league. So for him to put up those numbers in that situation and to hit basically a series winning 3-pointer, that's when Steph just missed one. Like that's monster. Like that's
and I'm not taking anything away from him as a clutch shooter.
When you talk about best year, you know what I'm saying? Like best year, he showed up in the playoffs and was just
Kyrie got that championship, and he did all that because he played with the best player in the world. Period.
Yes. Because I would love to see what MVP season Derrick Rose does, healthy does next to LeBron. I think it's going to look something.
I think the lack of shooting hurts a lot.
I think the lack of shooting hurts. I do. But
and free throw shooting too. Like that's super important.
But Rose was like one of the best free throw shooters. Rose was 85%.
Yeah, Rose actually shot pretty good free throws.
Did his free throw shooting go up and down though? Like I know he started.
It's gone down lately, but in MVP season he shot, and through most of his early career, he's been over 80%.
It's it's like John Wall, not a great outside shooter, but shoots over 80% from the foul line.
MVP Derrick Rose, his 3-point shooting was good, right? It was decent.
He was 33% MVP season.
Not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not no, it's not good. But let MVP Derrick Rose play with LeBron James. They have a couple of rings.
You're gonna see some sweetness
from the Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
Yep.
Dude, when Rose came back and he was playing against that same Golden State team, he gave Steph fits because Steph has no prayer of staying in front of him.
I agree. Steph struggles mightily against athletic point guards, but in the playoffs, they just stick Clay on him. They throw Iggy after him. They have so many.
They put Sean Livingston on him.
You know what I'm saying? Like he'll never get a break.
But out there with LeBron, you can't just do that.
Yeah, you could do that. Those guys ain't
going to run out of defenders at some point.
No, they never do. They never do. They literally never do. Like that's Golden State's MO. People think the MO is a 3-point shot, and that's a serious problem. But it's not just defense. It's the fact that on defensive rotation, if you're a perimeter player, unless you have 2 other perimeter players, you never get a break.
Because they can switch everything, and it's defensive versatility.
And that's how the Thunder beat San Antonio, because they just had Kawhi, and Kawhi had to make a choice between Russ and KD, and it's never a good choice. With Golden State, they got 4 guys to throw at you, and you talk about Derrick Rose not being a great shooter, it'd be a problem.
You know who sometimes will give Golden State problems? They don't beat them, but it's like you said, now Portland, because they got 2 guards.
Yeah,
you got Dame.
Yeah, if Portland played
that gives Golden State problems. Yeah, exactly. Because Golden State struggles.
Here's the main thing, though. It always comes down to this. I think, number one, y'all overinflate how good he was that year. And I'm not saying he wasn't good. I'm not saying he wasn't very good. But when y'all say elite, I do not think he was the best player in the league. I do not think he was. I don't even think he was top 5. To be honest with you.
Hey.
So
arguably that year,
you brought up a point about being the focal point of a team. Dude, from an offensive standpoint, that season, the Bulls were terrible offensively. Derek was all we had that you could depend on night in, night. Dude, you should see the numbers. You should see the splits of when Rose was on the floor and when he wasn't.
How did Chicago do? Well, how many games did they win after he was injured?
They won 60 that year, and then
they won.
And then the shortened season.
But he wasn't hurt the whole season. He played like 45 games.
But remember the year after the MVP, it was the 66-game season, and they were tied with San Antonio for the best record.
They had the best record in the NBA. But he played like 45 games.
That's not a lot of games.
In a 66-game season, it's not as
66 win.
Huh?
66 win.
They had
No, they played. That was, remember, there was a lockout.
Yeah,
They
it
only
was a
played
short
66
year.
total games.
Yeah.
And how much did
Yeah.
they win the year after?
was
Because
the-
didn't they make the playoffs again after that?
no.
That-
Yeah, but
the
he
year
went
after
down.
he missed the
He went
entire
down,
season.
though.
The year after he missed the whole season.
What was their record?
He missed the entire season. They made the playoffs, and then the very next year he got hurt like 6, 7 games in and missed the whole year.
Yeah, he got hurt in Portland.
And then that's the year Joakim Noah was 4th in MVP voting, 3rd.
Yeah.
Yes, because they started running the offense through him.
You know what? I want to say this real quick, and I know it wasn't on the topic list, but that's all right because we do that here. So I forgot who it was, but he put his list of his MVP rankings, and he had Al Horford 5th, and a bunch of people were attacking him.
Right.
And I was like, wait a second. It's not so crazy to have Horford 5th. And Pete, I think you can agree. Horford, you could make the case has been Boston's best. He's not their best player, but you could make the case he's been their best player this year.
He's the best fundamental piece,
Yeah, he's been
For
so
what
good
they-
defensively, but I do
Yeah.
think it's great.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think you take the best team in the league and just find somebody and give them the MVP.
Exactly.
Sometimes
That's why
teams genuinely share the load. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
Boston is one of those teams. They share the load. A lot of people do a
Mhm.
lot of things. And so when I say Kyrie, I don't think he's even close to being an MVP. Like I
No,
wouldn't even
no,
put him in the
No,
general
I wouldn't even
vicinity.
put him in the top 8 discussion.
Yeah, but I don't want that to be taken as Kyrie's not doing anything because
Right.
everybody playing for Boston deserves credit for playing their role to the point of winning in this series. And as a leader on that team, as a new guy, being a leader, he's done a really great job as far as that goes. As a point guard, I mean, by NBA standards, in terms of elite point guards, him and I, but would I trade him for a couple of other guys? Sure, in a heartbeat. Would I trade Kyrie Irving for James Harden right now? Absolutely, in a heartbeat. And I wouldn't hesitate.
Now,
Let me
with-
ask you this:
I would hesitate.
Would you trade him for the Celtics? Would you trade him for Russell Westbrook for Boston? Do you think Kyrie fits better with Boston than Westbrook would?
Yeah, no, I don't. Because the thing is, so far Boston has proven that they make everybody work. Like in the last couple of years, nobody's gone to that team and not worked. So to take what Russell has done so far in OKC without Kevin Durant, I guess is what we're saying, or maybe even with Kevin Durant, and then copy and paste that into Brad's system, no, that's ridiculous. Like I would have to actually see how that would translate.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because the system seems the system seems stronger than the players in the system. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole point of the discussion. Is Kyrie Irving is actually offensively worse than he was in Cleveland by several metrics. But I mean, and
I
just by
wonder
the
why
count-
that is.
and well, of course, he's not playing next to LeBron James.
Yeah.
But of course, I agree with that point. By the way, I don't disagree with that point. I think Kyrie's overrated.
Although I just
don't think that means you take credit away from him.
Although Kyrie's shooting numbers were better as a rookie and before LeBron got there than they are. I think he's having his worst shooting season this year, like threes and overall field goals. This has been his worst season. Am I wrong on that, Pete?
I mean, statistically, he's shooting 31% from 3.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's his worst. That's definitely his worst of his career.
And I mean, look at Boston. Yes, Hayward went down, and you can say what you want about that.
He's shooting almost 38%.
Is he? Oh, so he went
He's
up
up to
since I was
38.
last. Okay.
It's probably that monster game.
And that's still probably
Yeah.
damn near, and that's still probably damn near a career low.
He was at 31%.
He's usually
like
40.
Hey, here's the
last
thing.
night.
It's early in the season, right? So maybe some of this is him getting used to the new system. Maybe he'll get more efficient as the season goes on. I'm just saying, so far, don't give him credit for those wins the same way you would give
Because
Antetokounmpo credit if the Milwaukee Bucks had the same record.
this is
It's a
team-
different situation.
This is a Boston team. Yes, Hayward went down, but this is a Boston team where many beat writers and fans alike came out and said that Boston was going to win in the 60s as far as a win potential. So
I'm one of them.
I mean, you have to look at it. Yes, Hayward's an important piece, but more credit should be given to 6 rookies across the board and Brad Stevens for, what he's been able to do with that. Because you throw, basically Jason Tatum, you've got Gershon Yabusele's got minutes, you've got Daniel Tice has played a vital role.
Yeah.
You've got Aaron Baines.
Ojale.
Yeah, Ojale. You've got Aaron Baines was forgotten around the league. And he's come in and look at what he's done, at the center spot.
Jaylen Brown.
Dude, Aaron Bain looks like he's supposed to be in the UFC.
Yeah. And although Marcus Smart is not doing well shooting the ball, I mean, we all know what he can do defensively as far as the backcourt, and that covers a lot of mistakes. I'm sorry, same thing. Looking at Kyrie on the defensive end, yes, he's improved a little bit as a defender, but you've got one of the best defenders in the league next to him in Marcus Smart, in the backcourt, and Jaylen Brown is good.
Jaylen Brown's a defender,
right?
Yeah,
dude, Jaylen Brown. I mean, Jaylen Brown. When he was in college, I wrote my ceiling and floor for him, and the ceiling I had for him actually, I'm off, but my ceiling was Dominique, because I never thought he would defend as well as he is defending now. I knew he was
Scotty.
I knew he was that freakish athlete that exploded, and I knew how strong he was, but I didn't think his jump shot would come along as well as it has, and I definitely did not think he was going to take pride in his defense.
He wants it. He wants it real bad. Like, he came into the season real hungry. He really worked on his game. And I think here's the thing. When Gordon Hayward went down, you had two really young players, going back to my consistent theme, that were question marks. You didn't know how Jaylen Brown would respond after, having an okay rookie year and then being okay in the playoffs and stuff like that, looking like he's showing some flashes. You didn't know what his second year would look like. And you didn't know if Jason Tatum would be as polished as he looked in the summer league. Right, because it's unfair to expect a rookie to maintain that playing against starting lineups, all-stars, and especially at his position. He's playing against a lot of all-star players night after night after night. Both players have played to their maximum projections as individuals,
right,
which has completely mitigated the loss of Gordon Hayward for now, to the point that I don't know what they're going to do when he comes back, because
who do you sit?
I don't know. Yeah, who do you sit?
I mean, and that's a huge question mark, because you look at, if Jaylen Brown's playing the 2, so that means Hayward would have to play the 3. Well, you got Tatum there. I
think Tatum plays the 4. I think Tatum plays the 4 then.
But see,
I don't think you can take him out.
Horford's better as a 4 than he is as a 5.
I just don't think you can take Tatum out of that starting lineup.
I don't think you do it. I honestly think Jaylen Brown goes to the bench until he cries to start and has to be traded.
I wouldn't trade Jaylen
You think
Brown
they move?
at this point. He's been on such an upward trajectory.
No, I don't think they will want to. But I think what will happen is they'll put him on the bench. He'll go to the bench. And what will happen is, because he knows and he sees how good he is, and he sees how much he's developed, and this won't be enough for him. And they will.
So let me ask you this then. Here's an interesting thing, because this guy gets linked to Boston a lot. So let's say New Orleans starts, and I'm not talking Cousins. I'm talking Anthony Davis. And do you package Jaylen Brown with one of those, because they got they don't have the Nets pick this year because that went to Cleveland, but the following year, what would that be? 2019? Do you package Jaylen Brown if you get Anthony Davis?
You gotta put some more in that package than Jaylen Brown.
You gotta put a lot more.
And a pick, and that pick.
And see, the thing about it is
they're not, because do you see Boston? You probably put Marcus Smart since he.
Yeah, Boston's going to have to give up too much. They're going to scrap a lot of their.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't make that trade, because you're giving up a lot of youth.
Well, then you got to look at it. Anthony Davis hasn't won anything in New Orleans,
and he's injured.
Big question mark. He just had his 3rd concussion.
Yeah. I'm worried about the medical bill.
Yeah, that's
my concern. Is the medical bill.
That's a big thing, because if they don't make the playoffs this year, a lot of question marks are going to be raised even more in New Orleans. So I think I'm Boston.
Before you sell the farm to buy Anthony Davis, you need to see 2 years of gameplay.
Exactly, I fully agree with that.
Yeah,
and I'm going to go ahead and transition to the next topic, Matt. Since we're already talking.
Go ahead.
Since we're talking about rookies, go ahead and let's go ahead and get everybody's opinion on Lonzo Ball. He had his second triple-double of the season. Is it something that can carry through as a building block for him, or is it just going to take a long time for him to be a legitimate NBA player? Whoever wants to go first can.
I'll hop in first. I think 20-year-old point guards who haven't grown into their, adult body, it's just nobody knows. Like, literally, there's no scout in the world. There's no coach in the world. Nobody knows. So the real issues for Lonzo is, can he get his shot to work in the NBA game? He might not have to completely restructure it to get the pull up to work, but this whole deal where he can't go right and pull up at all, like literally can't do it, that will not work in the playoffs. That will not work in the playoffs. That's not good enough.
He can't get it under pressure either.
And the
Even
other
going
thing,
left.
right? So, and you can't be Jason Kidd without defense. Right? So if you're telling me Jason Kidd with a worse jump shot and no D, I'm selling that. And that's his projection right now. So even if things go well, that's his projection. I don't want Jason Kidd with no mid-range game, doesn't finish. He'll probably turn into a better finisher because he'll just get stronger.
Right.
So I expect that to get better. And I expect that the more he plays with the team, the more he plays with his guys, the transition game will become something that's more of a factor with LA as they continue to learn how to defend, as he gets acclimated with that system, gets comfortable. Him catching the ball off, and he's a good rebounder. When you have a point guard who's a good rebounder and can push the pace, that's a factor. You close out a defensive play, you get 2 points on the other end, nobody has to work hard. So that all looks really good. But he's got to learn how to defend, and he's got to get that jump shot working. All this stuff about him being a bust and the triple doubles, those are just good games. Those are just words. But on the court, those are the things he needs to fix.
For me, absolutely. I think that the biggest question mark I have, just real quick, is that, and it'll get as he gets experience, it'll get there, is the knowing when to be aggressive and have your head into the game and be able to push aggressively. Because there's times where there, see spots on the floor. It's like, push the ball, and he's looking like he's kind of lost out there. And I don't know if it's a confidence thing, his brother in China, all that distraction, his mom, health, all that stuff playing a part in his head. I think all of that factors in as a big, kind of on-taking for a 20-year-old kid. But at the same time, his comments are like, I just have to play my game. Like, I'll shoot my way out of it. What if that shot doesn't come? Where are you at as far as the franchise? Because the Lakers are basically banking on him being a star right now. They're banking on Ingram potentially being a 20-point scorer, and I just don't see it in Ingram, but that it's also early for him too.
Yeah, I would be more concerned about Ingram than Lonzo.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lonzo, even if he does turn out to be what I said, Jason Kidd without no real D, can't pull up, shots a little worse. Okay, knowing that Jason Kidd's shot got way better as he got older. That's still something you can work with, surrounded with 3-point shooters, get him into a defensive scheme. A primary scorer who can't score is just unacceptable. And Brandon Ingram was one of those guys that looked like he pulled a hamstring every time he goes to the basket. Like, he's just so awkward. You know what I'm saying? He's just all knees and elbows, like he just came out the womb. And you know what I mean? He looked like a baby calf out there with all his stuff, and he just needs more stability and structure in his footwork and stuff like that.
I noticed he looks off a lot of people too. He looks to be somebody that is aggressive and scores, and he looks off. I'm like, you could have made a smarter read than that. You could have passed that, easily got a dunk, Lopez under the basket, but you decided to take it inside for a weird floater. Or it's like, dude, you need to eat some snacks first before you go inside and try to bully ball your way in. I mean, it's just, right now he can't finish.
What do you got, Brian?
I remember actually when people were trying to tell me that Brandon Ingram was a better prospect than Ben Simmons.
I'm one of them. I was saying that for the fit of the Sixers at the time, not that he was a better prospect, but for the fit at the time, I thought that Ingram would have fit better for Philly at the time. Now, obviously, way wrong in that, and I'll admit that, but I'm biased because I'm a Duke guy too, so I never was taken with Brandon Ingram. Never was. I just always thought he was so frail, and everybody's not going to be Kevin Durant. Right.
And that's, people see these body types. They're like, oh, look, that's just like Durant. Yeah, but there's a lot more to Durant than being long and skinny.
Killer
And I
instinct.
think, unfortunately, that's where we get and I'm a big guy about motor, and Brandon Ingram is one of those sleepy guys.
Yeah,
And
I
when
fully
you're
agree.
a sleepy guy, it is really like you can get all in this guy's faces, like Eldon Campbell, guys like that. You can get all in those guys' face and go, come on, get fired up, and they just look at you like.
Lonzo has that too, though.
Yeah.
Lonzo kind of has that personality.
You know what? I don't think Lonzo is a sleepy guy. What I think Lonzo is Lonzo is dealing in a situation. Lonzo's in a very tough situation. He is in a very tough situation. Your father's insane, but your father has helped you too, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. He's put you in a position, in a very choice position. But you have these quirks about your game that are going to be difficult for you to overcome. One thing is that you feel like it's okay to just play this floor game, because that's what he plays, a floor game, But the problem is your level of stardom and the expectations on you are much more than a point guard that's going to play a Chris Duhon-like game.
Kendall Marshall.
And that's the problem for him right now. So people are asking him to get out of his own body, because the way he thinks and the way he functions is, 9 or 10 points is great. 9 points, 10 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. I just set the world on fire. But the expectations for him are more like 18, 9, and 8. You know what I mean? And that would require him to be far more aggressive as a scorer than he naturally is. And I don't think he's ever truly worked on being a scorer as much as he needs to. Right. Because honestly, at his level, there's no excuse for him not to be able to go right and pull up on a jump shot. I don't care how crazy his form is. Even if every time he shoots the ball going right, he has to use a different form. At some point, knowing where you were on your way to, that bewilders me.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's one thing I disagree with. I don't think people expect him to score more. I think the numbers could be exactly what they are, except for the terrible shooting, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing that people don't like is that he's not always involved with the game. It's the same thing you said about Ben Simmons, that Embiid could get you 30 and 11 and I won't want to say have not affected the game, but have not, because he is an impact guy, but have not affected the game as much as Ben Simmons with 15, 9, and 9. And when you average 15, 9, and 9, that means some nights you had 7, 9, and 9. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But with Ben, he's constantly affecting the game. So if you watch the game, you see things are shifting according to him. There's a gravity to his game. Lonzo, it's not the numbers, it's the lack of gravity. It's the fact that sometimes he just pitches the ball up court and then strolls across the half court line and stands out at what we call in 2K the limitless range area by the hash. Just stands out by the hash, sees what happens, and trots back on the defensive end. Whereas Jason Kidd was push, moving, something happened. Maybe it was a hockey assist, so the numbers don't get there. Maybe it was a 2-time hockey assist, pass, and then somebody got it. But Jason Kidd was always pushing the issue on both ends of the floor. So it's the aloofness that they see in the attitude translating to too many possessions. I don't think his attitude needs to change. I just think that his activity needs to raise across the board.
I think the not getting involved in the fight with Caldwell Pope is very much a microcosm of the way he goes about things.
Yeah.
And he didn't think anything of that. He didn't think the wrong thing. He didn't.
You saw what he said.
Yeah, he didn't look at it like I'm being a coward. He was like, "Oh, that's not me. I'm finna walk over here."
But he kind of said, he's like, "Man, it's not like they were really gonna fight anyways. I'm not getting fined."
And then Brooke Lopez sticks up for him as like, "Well, he's not a big guy. Like, I'm a big guy. I can get in the middle and
And but you better believe Brooke Lopez didn't say that to him behind closed doors.
I hope not. One of the players spoke up and said something to him. I don't know.
Yeah, that was Brooke Lopez defending his teammate in the media, so that it wouldn't get out that his team is on him.
Right.
But in behind closed doors, Brooke Lopez said, "Hey, dude, you can't do that." I'm willing to bet.
At least act like you're going to get involved in the scuffle.
You're like, bro, you can't do that. You can't
at least
do that.
Pretend.
You know, but see, I think sometimes a person's level of fame makes us forget their level of maturity.
Right.
And the boy is 19. You know what I'm saying? And I said the boy on purpose because and I didn't mean that as an insult. He is still a boy.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not a man. And he's not going to make man-like decisions.
And that was a man decision, because what you have to understand as a man is we're supposed to have your back. When guys like Patrick Beverley and, Tony Allen get up in you and try to take you off your game by intimidating you, it's fine that you're not bothered by it. It's fine that you realize what they're doing and they're not getting in your head. But there's a guy on this team who's supposed to go over there and say, that's enough. You ain't going to get away with that here.
Right.
And when something happens to our guys, you have to show the same thing. It's not about us actually punching and getting to a fight. It's not even about cowardice, because I don't think he was being a coward.
It's like what you saw, Cantor do a week ago with Frank Ntilikina. Cantor got LeBron's.
Nobody was going to beat up LeBron, obviously. Right. You know what I'm saying? But even Ntilikina himself, he pushed LeBron like, get off me. You can't encroach my space.
Ironically, too, that was after LeBron had made that comment about Dennis Smith or whatever. And Ntilikina, you know what that was about.
As a troll for Phil Jackson.
Right.
It indirectly insulted Ntilikina.
Right. And so the point being, the same attitude Cantor have, Lonzo doesn't understand the value of that as a team. That it's not about you getting into a fight or not. It's about us protecting this house from being punked when it matters. Because once you get the label that someone can come in and punk you, they're going to get away with stuff and get away with stuff and get away with stuff. And sometimes in the playoffs, that'll win you games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because in the playoffs, you get away with more. And in the playoffs, you get away with a lot of aggression. It's rewarded a lot. And when you let guys, sometimes you do have to regulate yourself a little bit and say, if you give me an elbow, I'm going to give you an elbow. If you get up in our face, I'm going to get up in your face. And that self-polices aggression. Right. And if you're not willing to self-police aggression and back up your teammates, there's a cost. And he doesn't understand that. He's, as most people can realize, too cool for school. He's smart enough to realize the situation, but too smart for his own good, not realizing what it's really about.
That's very common, and actually something that people don't really mention enough. You can be too smart for your own good, and it happens a lot with sharp young players. Yeah, you got a little too much sense, and you should be a little dumber right now. Be a little bit more simple. Because being more simplistic in this situation would actually help you. But just a side note about Ntilikina is he has to be like Rudy Gay's son. That kid looks like Rudy Gay.
He looks like Rudy Gay. The eyes, right?
Son, a little brother or something. I don't know, but he looks like
they got the same length arms.
Yeah,
right.
Ntilikina is 3 inches shorter.
I think real quick with Lonzo, I think, and I'm not making an excuse for the fight because that's inexcusable, but I think he's so used to and just conditioned to his dad doing all the talking, speaking up, being the loud person. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go over here. I don't have to deal with that. My dad's not.
Pops will take care of it for me.
I think that's right. I think that's a really good observation. I do think that.
Because it happened time and time again on interviews before he was drafted. Like his dad would come out and they're like, Lonzo, what do you think? Oh man, that's just my dad. It's just how he is. And that's how he would answer it. And then as far as his game, like people expecting, 18-9 and 8 in a game, like he's never been a scorer. Like Jello, as bad as a basketball player, I think he could shoot a little bit from the outside, but as bad fundamentally as a basketball player as LiAngelo Ball is, I think Lonzo was so conditioned to deferring. All right, you're going to put up all these points. Like I don't have to. So now you're asking him to
LiAngelo is
change
much better at getting steals, though. I'm sorry, I had to. I just need to watch.
That's cold.
Oh man, dude, somebody got to tweet that. Somebody ought to tweet that he got pickpocket badge. He had the pickpocket badge.
Yeah, bronze pocket.
Hey, real quick,
I may steal that one and use it.
Last thing I'm going to say on Lonzo. In the footage of Lonzo competing behind closed doors, whether it be just shoot-arounds or video games or whatever, he actually looks very competitive and gets fired up.
Right.
I think for him, it's on the basketball court. He has the mentality of not getting too high, not getting too low. I don't think it's that he's shying away. I don't think it's that he's not tough. I think some of that remains to be seen because it's not about what you necessarily are. It's what you are after you faced a bunch of challenges, right? As they say, character, adversity reveals character, basically. So I think his character has yet to be revealed in terms of that adversity, but in terms of the nuts and bolts of it, I don't think he's actually aloof. I think that is his shield on the basketball court.
I believe it. I totally agree. I 100% agree. And you guys said a word. You said deferment or deferring, and I think that he has been deferring his whole life to his dad, to his brothers, and he's in a situation where he's not supposed to continue to defer. There are times when he's supposed to take control, and he's just not used to that.
He's comfortable with Kuzma. If you watch, he's always trying to get the ball to Kuzma. It's like that's his safety net in the game.
He's getting it to him a lot tonight, but Chris Dunn is eating his lunch.
Last I hadn't looked at him. He was 0 for 3 starting the game shooting. As he improved,
Chris Dunn has 9 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, a block, and a turnover. And that one block was a nasty snuff of Lonzo. And Dunn has also made 1 or 2 of his threes. Lonzo is 1 for 8 from the field.
That's not surprising though.
Yeah, 0 for 4 from 3-point range. But he does have 7 rebounds and 3 assists.
He's good.
Dunn
is
really starting to turn into that guy that Dunn is becoming that guy that was picked 5th.
Man,
like he kind of is. He looks really good.
I wrote this up a couple weeks ago, and I said around this time next year, the Bulls could be one of the more exciting teams to watch. Now I'm not talking about good, but just how. Like you see a young team, and they have a little bit of a buzz and an intrigue to them. They're not good,
kind of like the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, it's like okay, so Chris Dunn continues to develop. We already kind of see what Lauri Markkanen is. You got Zach LaVine, and then you got whoever they get with this pick that's going to be a top 5 pick. That's a lot of, but there's some interest around that team. Right. If it's Marvin Bagley, you got Marvin Bagley the third, Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and then the Bulls have among the top 3 most money to spend in free agency of any team in the league.
The free agents, who going there, man? That place is toxic.
See, that's the only problem. That's the only problem because nobody comes here.
The best free agent they've really signed recently been Carlos Boozer.
Yeah, but they're going to overpay somebody.
You could say Pau Gasol. That they had to fight off triple team Pau. The Ben Wallace thing was before that, but Ben Wallace is a weird kind of special case because he's only going to go where he's totally comfortable. And he ended up coming into Chicago and he wasn't comfortable and had to hurry up and try to get out of there because we got traded to Cleveland. But, we don't that's the only issue. The Bulls have set themselves up to have outstanding assets, but I just don't think that the front office or the head coach is really capable of doing much with these assets.
Yeah, that's true. And free agency, though, you got to look at across the board. Like money.
Yep.
Players found out last year, like money dried up quick, and it's going to be even more tight this year. So jobs are players are going to be playing for jobs basically this season, to get those contracts. Now money will go up the following.
I got to get out of here soon, but I saw in the chat somebody asked, what do we think of the Toronto Raptors? And I wanted to field that question because this is a team that's winning a lot of ball games. People disrespectfully completely discount them in the Eastern Conference in terms of seeding and winning during the regular season. They've proven nothing in the playoffs, and I don't think they necessarily have a great team for the playoffs. But I wanted to get that question across before I had to get out of here because they're an interesting team for me for a couple of reasons. For me, number one is I think DeRozan is extremely underrated. DeRozan's offensive game is very, very, very polished in the mid-range, and he's possibly the strongest offensive two guard in terms of raw physical strength, ability to, take contact, hit tough shots from the post.
He's a freak.
I mean, he's a monster down there. He's a big fan of Kobe. A lot of these guys are, a lot of the guys in the league right now are following Kobe the way the guys followed Jordan during Kobe's era. And he's one of those guys. A lot of these California kids, Paul George, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, even Kawhi Leonard is a Kobe guy, trained with him and stuff like that. And you can see a lot of Kobe's game in the post has gotten to DeMar DeRozan. And outside of not really stretching the floor, he's for real. And he's been for real for like 3 years, where he stopped being just a guy who got garbage buckets like Sean Marion scoring. You know what I mean? He turned into a guy who was getting legitimate one-on-one scoring, and I think that's part of the reason that Toronto is going to be a 50-win team, basically, as long as they keep surrounding him with people that they can work with him. What say you?
I'll take it in the fact that you look at people question like Valanciunas, Ibaka, those pieces, but they fail to look at the guys like Pascal Siakam. They fail to look at OG Anunoby. Because everybody, including myself, thought Anunoby is going to be out for most of the year. Yes, he's a very good defender, but nobody saw that three-point shooting. And obviously, a rookie, it's early. Things could taper off.
Small sample size.
Yeah, but just where he is right now, DeLon, right before his dislocated shoulder, how well he's improved. So they have pieces across the board.
And Van Vliet's been pretty good for him, too, off the bench.
Right. And then Jakob Poeltl, kind of showing some flashes. So they have those pieces there that have the pedigree to be better than a team like I like to call a one-man show, like an Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee, things like that. Now, Milwaukee has the length, and if healthy, they could cause teams problems. But right now, I personally would take Toronto, over a team like Milwaukee. Not to say Milwaukee's not going to be the better team in 3 years, but I think
it really all depends with what are they going to get out of Parker?
Exactly.
When he does come back.
And Bledsoe in the playoffs, because that's a completely different look for them.
Right. And then look at a team like Washington. Yeah. You don't know what's going to happen. John Wall's injured every single year. So Washington's not going to be a legitimate threat. So you can look potentially your top 3 teams, because Cleveland's going to turn it around. They're going to end up being up there.
Philly.
Well, they already have.
Yeah.
They're like a 5-game winning streak, right?
They won 5.
Right. And I mean, Matt, I know you're high. Yeah, but they're not right now.
I'm sticking to it. Philly's going to finish 3rd in the East.
No way.
See, that's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about right there. See, Matt Miller just said they're going to finish 3rd in the East. Now, here's the thing. If you were to say at the end of the year they'd be the 3rd best team in the East, now I think you're going to be wrong. But
that's fine. I
can see where you're coming from. But them being the 3rd best team in the playoffs doesn't mean they'll have the 3rd best record. You're saying they're going to win at a rate throughout the year. So you're discounting all these back-to-backs Embiid is supposed to play. You're discounting all of just the flat-out rookie nights that Ben Simmons is going to play.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? He's going to have. They still don't know what's going on with Fultz yet. So if he comes back in the lineup, he could screw everything up. And once he gets, once his role expands, you're taking all of that and just putting it best case scenario.
Yep.
And you're taking an 11-5 team who's gotten 50 games year after year and just throwing it out the window.
Yep. Absolutely. Because
I gotta
going
get
into
out of here. I'm glad I exposed your craziness to everybody else. I'm glad I exposed your craziness. I'll see you next Sim Nation show next Friday where we can double down on this. I'm glad we got the footage.
Before you get,
I might post a link in the comments.
For about a month and a half last year, I was sticking with my Knicks being number 2. I wouldn't have agreed being number 2.
Even though, I like the Knicks this year, but last year they were hot garbage. Hot garbage.
That was
summertime.
That was before the season started, though.
Summertime sanitation strike garbage.
Yeah.
Nah. You know, here's the thing. I like to look at how teams are playing. You know what I mean? And the difference is this year, the Knicks are consistently playing within a scheme that they've clearly all bought into, and they're all getting better at. And a lot of guys are getting better defensively, learning how to play with each other. So I could believe in that. What was happening last year, early season, some teams ain't even out of training camp yet.
Right.
You know what I'm
Like
saying?
the
Some of these vets,
Warriors
they ain't even changed their diets. They haven't, you know what I'm saying? They haven't called their nutrition yet. Their personal trainer ain't off vacation.
But
So, yeah,
Philly's
that's
making,
early
but
win,
Philly's
Donald.
Philly's still making the playoffs, right? If they stay healthy.
They should make the playoffs. If they're
That's
healthy,
a
I would
big
think they should make the
between
playoffs.
making the playoffs and saying third seed, though. That's a huge
Third.
mark.
Yeah, you just throwing Washington out the window. You throwing Milwaukee out the window. You
I'm
throwing
not a
Toronto
fan.
out the
I'm
window.
not sold on Washington or Milwaukee right now.
You would put Philly over both of them. Realistically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're throwing Detroit out the window. You're saying Detroit's completely fool's gold. When the thing about Detroit is Tobias Harris improving seems to be real, and Avery Bradley is definitely real.
Reggie Jackson's healthy.
Yeah, you can't ignore adding a piece like Avery Bradley into your starting lineup.
Yeah,
like that's a big deal, man. Like that's not negligible.
Yeah, that's the confidence I have in Embiid and Simmons.
See,
it has to stay healthy though. They have to stay healthy.
I say A seed all the way.
Obviously,
and
if one of them goes down, it's a wrap.
Yeah, I would say for the Eastern Conference, the main thing is outside of the Eastern Conference right now, you got Milwaukee, Orlando, and Charlotte, and Miami. All four of those teams could possibly go on a run.
Yep.
And a little inconsistency from, New York, Philly, or Indiana could get them out of there. So,
I mean, Philly's still losing to Sacramento. So, I mean, until you can take those wins and turn those into blowouts and confidence-building wins, I mean, Philly's going to be right there in the AC discussion. They're not going to be.
They also did win in Detroit.
I mean,
and this is what I look at. They've lost what are they now? 9-7. So they played 16 games. They've had the lead in the fourth quarter in 4 of them. They're not that far off. Yes, Toronto was the one team. Toronto and Golden State are the 2 teams that waxed them.
Right.
Actually, 3 games because it was Golden State twice. Because that third quarter the other night.
The main thing about Toronto, their core has been together so long. They've got Serge Ibaka in there. They've got the depth, as you guys have alluded to it, on Anunoby, and really a bunch of guys who can come in and fill in and step up. You don't know if they're going to be better.
They can play.
Right.
That is consistency. And that's what the regular season is all about. The regular season isn't about talent. It's about consistency. And I think the Toronto Raptors have that, and as such, will probably once again wind up in the second round of the playoffs. Maybe. I think the first round of the playoffs in the East is going to be a lot tougher across the board.
Yeah.
And I honestly, if certainty, depending on how it lines up, I wouldn't be shocked at almost any upset in the East except for Cleveland.
Ooh.
I would be shocked if Cleveland got upset in the first round. I wouldn't be shocked if anybody else got upset in the first round.
Including Boston.
No, because Boston almost lost last year. I mean, if Rondo, you could arguably say if Rondo hadn't gone down. I mean, that's a fair argument.
Brian, jump in here for you. I gotta ask. This is a good question.
If Rondo,
even if Rondo doesn't get hurt, I still think Boston comes back.
If Rondo doesn't get hurt, the Bulls beat Boston.
I agree.
You think so? I agree, actually. You think he was that big of a factor?
Yeah, I really do. I really do. And the reason why is because the Bulls weren't a great offensive team last year, but he was the only force that gave them any sense of order. And the other thing of it was he got the bench, the young guys, to play with Jimmy and Dwayne Wade because they hated them. But Rondo was the nice liaison between the two, and it's so odd that this was the case. But Rondo was a big part of the order and the chemistry of the team. And when he went down, they did not have any direction. Robin Lopez was dominating Boston then through the first 2 games, dominating. But he was also getting the ball consistently off that pick and pop. And he was knocking down that 15 and 16-foot jump shot. He was in the flow offensively, and he was in the flow defensively. When Rondo left, it all fell apart.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible that they would have.
I'm
not saying Boston definitely wouldn't, because quite frankly, it really comes down to Isaiah Thomas, and Isaiah Thomas is a guy who can get so hot that he can shoot them towards a victory. at any given moment. And Brad Stevens is such a great coach
Yes,
that he could have just
that's
figured
what I
out
was gonna go
Chicago
with.
by the
Yeah.
third game, and turned the
That's
series.
what I would have went with.
Sure.
And you saw the adjustments in that series, even without Rod, that he started to make,
Yeah.
where they were
So
setting
I
the pick and
I
roll
think it could have
for
gone either
Isaiah.
way.
And that's why I think
But
Hoiberg
here's
would have just was
this goes to
completely
the point, though,
outclassed.
right? This goes to the point. If they wind up facing a Milwaukee in the first round, and Milwaukee beats Boston just because Milwaukee has the best player out of the series, that doesn't shock me.
That
You know
would
what
be,
I'm
but
saying?
you know what?
Me either.
Milwaukee's. You know why I think Milwaukee? I think they could, outside of Cleveland. Why it wouldn't shock me? It more so if Parker comes back and he's the same Parker before he got hurt. Oh, all bets are off. That team's scary.
And again,
Because
I
then
gotta
you throw
see
in Bledsoe, you
how
throw in
Thon Maker
Middleton.
grows. I gotta see how Brogdon grows. I gotta see how Bledsoe fits
Yeah.
in with this lineup and what adjustments Jason Kidd makes. Like, Milwaukee is such a work in progress. They might be a completely different team by the time they hit the playoffs than what we're looking at right now. That's why I'm saying it wouldn't shock me. Boston to be favored, but I wouldn't be shocked at all by Giannis ruining somebody's April.
You know, it interests me. I always thought, you know, I know Kyrie ended up going to Boston, and I understand the trade, but I always thought, and I think I tweeted or wrote this, I always thought the better trade would have been Kyrie to Milwaukee for Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Middleton, and Milwaukee's first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
I think you put Brogdon, Middleton on a team with LeBron,
Yeah.
You can hang it up.
Yeah.
You can hang it up. You know, and I thought that was the deal that they should have went for. I mean, Brogdon 6'5", runs an offense, knocks down the three at 35 to 40%. Middleton is a killer corner three-point shooter and good scorer. Oh my God, you couldn't have put two better guys around LeBron.
And Brogdon doesn't mind playing off the ball and letting LeBron do all the work with handling it.
It's perfect. It would have been perfect.
Originally, the deal was Kyrie was going to Phoenix, and then Bledsoe was coming back to.
And that would have been dreadful.
Yeah, that'd have been terrible.
Yes.
I'm glad they didn't do that.
That
But guys, I got to get out of here on that note. It's midnight. It's my time. But it was a fantastic time. I'll be happy to be back on here.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely.
Peace.
Zeke, as always, it's a pleasure, my man.
That's right. Derrick Rose forever, baby.
Go down with that shit.
Hey, before we get out of here, I want to ask this one last question. I know it's only 3 of us left now. It's late. It's the holidays. I get it. It's okay.
You rapid fire, Matt. Hit rapid fire because I think we got.
No,
what,
this
two,
is
three topics?
this is something because I tweeted this out. I tweeted this out as one of the topics, so I want to get into it. It's
okay.
So, and Nelson had mentioned it a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was I think it was a couple weeks ago, about the resurgence of the big man in the NBA. Yes, they're kind of hybrid big men now,
right?
But so now, if we got 4 guys, I think that, and if any of you have another guy you want to add, that's fine. But who are you going to take? We got Kristaps Porzingis, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid. You can throw Jokic in there if you want. You know, even though I haven't been as impressed, I'm not as big a fan as Jokic as a lot are. I think he's fantastic, but I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are. And I think you're kind of seeing it a little bit this year. He's not ready to make that jump just yet. He might be. But Brian, who of those 4 guys, or maybe there's someone else you want to throw in there, who would you take if you're starting a franchise?
If I'm starting a franchise and you gave me those guys, and are we taking health into consideration?
I think you got to take it all into consideration.
Yeah, everything has to be on the table.
Okay, if everything's on the table, I'm still probably taking Karl Anthony Towns. And the reason why I say that is because Karl Anthony Towns is not a perfect player by any stretch. He has some deficiencies. Most of them are defensively. But the one thing I know about Towns is he wants to be great. And when you have a kid that at his age who has the talent that he has, and we know he wants to be great, he will be great. He will be, because he wants it and he has the tools to get there. He has really everything you need, because you know, when a lot of times, you know, when something doesn't go right, they'll tell you it's a skill versus will type of a situation. Well, he has the skill and the will. So then that means it's just a matter of time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
See, I use same argument as far as will to be great. And I have to take, because everybody probably thinks, as I'm the Sixers guy, I'm going to say Embiid. I'm actually going to go Porzingis because I think the ability at 7'3" to stretch the floor, to handle the ball defensively, able to block shots, he can rebound. I mean, and he's in the gym. They had to revoke his key to the gym because he was going to the gym too much to work out. I mean, that's how much he wants it. And I think long term, his ceiling as a defender gives me the edge over a guy like Towns. Because defensively, I just don't like. There's too many mistakes with Towns for him to be that good offensively to be that bad defensively. That's just my biggest question mark with Towns. And I thought being under Tibbs, he would improve, but he's looked just as bad this season as he did last year. And I like all of the guys across the board. Even Jokic.
I got a question for you, Pete, about Towns. Why do there seems to be a lot of people, and you see it when you mention his defense, a lot of people will scoff at you like, yeah, Towns plays deep. Why do a lot of people swear he's a good defender?
I mean, some people use the eye test. Some people use the, analytic guys just looking at a piece of paper.
But even the eye test tells you he's not great.
No,
right.
Honestly, man, I think it's demeanor. Because most people don't even know what a good defender looks like.
Yeah,
it's why they think it's why people think Westbrook can play defense. He really is not a great defender.
They don't even know what it looks like, man. So they see how fiery he is, and he's always in it and hustling or whatever. So they automatically think that equates to being a good defender, but he's not. If you watch him, he rotates slow or not at all.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't challenge to block shots as much as he could with his length and his athleticism. And as far as a defensive rebounder, he doesn't finish possessions as much as you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So there's some holes there. There's some holes there. But what I think he has to get to a place is that he understands that you'll have enough in the tank for offensively. You'll have enough in the tank on the other end, and you can still defend.
Very, very good point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, me,
I was gonna say, Matt, who you got?
It was a toss-up between Embiid and Porzingis.
Okay.
And obviously, I'm going Porzingis for health reasons. Plus, I think he's a better offensive player overall, just because I think his hand. Because if you notice a lot when Embiid makes his moves, he falls down a lot. He's kind of clumsy.
Right.
And Pete, you see it being a Sixers fan. He falls down all the time when he makes his. You don't see that with Porzingis. And obviously, Porzingis is clearly the better shooter. And he's healthy. I think health was probably the number one factor. He's going to be. You're going to get 60 games a season from Porzingis at least.
Matt, Matt, you sound like Max Headroom a little bit. It's going in and out like weird. Like
I think people look at. I'll bring up Jokic for a minute because I think that a lot of, especially obviously Denver fans, throw him into discussion. I would question Jokic for the fact that there's a lot of nights he doesn't feel like he has to score and be an offensive threat for them to win. And I don't think that that's realistic. Yes, he's one of the best passing big men in the NBA right now, but I think he has to have that aggressive go-to scorer down the stretch of games because I don't think that you're going to have a guy – because Millsap's going to be off the team, in 3 seasons. And so you're left with Murray, Gary Harris, and you're left with Jokic. So, yes, Murray can fill it up in buckets, but Murray's not a point guard. So you're asking Murray to learn a position he's never really, played comfortably. So then Gary Harris is looked at as basically your third scorer. So that means Jokic is your go-to guy. Is he really going to want it? And then the other guy in the discussion, Anthony Davis, we talked about earlier, I mean, he had his 3rd concussion. I mean, is he realistically, going to stay healthy enough, long term to really be able to do something? Because he hasn't won in New Orleans at all. Even with DeMarcus Cousins right now, I mean, we'll have to see when Rondo gets back, but I just don't, feel like they're an upper echelon team that's going to go anywhere with what they have.
Absolutely. Is the mic cleared up now? Is it still choppy?
It's still choppy.
Shoot.
let's see. Let's I guess go ahead and flip to. I think we got the Clippers situation with Doc Rivers is something I kind of wanted to touch on. They lost 9 games in a row. So Mazik, I'm going to ask you: is it time to, looking at the team as a whole, there are a lot of injuries, but is it time for Steve Ballmer to basically, kind of get rid of Doc Rivers, so to speak? Or do you think other changes are in play?
I think Doc Rivers is still a very good head coach, but sometimes things have run their course, and I think that's what, like, who Doc Rivers is right now. He's like Rick Adelman. Rick Adelman was a very good coach.
Yeah,
he was a very good coach, but he was at 2 different locations where he had a really strong core that went as far as that core could go. And then it had to change because because the players were too good to say, oh, well, we need an upgrade. And they were getting deep. Well, the Clippers haven't gotten deep into the playoffs, but they were getting to the postseason. They were putting together these really strong regular seasons, and the core of the team is strong. Like Rick Adelman in Portland with Drexler and Kersey and Duckworth and Porter. That's a really strong squad. Buck Williams, it's a really strong squad. But that team went as far as it could go. Lost to the Pistons one year, the Bulls the next season. They weren't quite good enough. Then he came back with Sacramento, and he had the Bibby and the Chris Webber and the Stojakovic and the Divac. Well, they couldn't beat the Lakers.
Yeah.
And so now the Clippers it's a very similar situation for Doc Rivers, that I think it just may be time for a fresh start for the franchise. Let Doc go back to the television booth for, to be an announcer for a little while, like he was in the 90s or the early 2000s. And another situation will come up if he even wants to get back into the game. And that's the way that this should go. They need to, they really, to me, have one real piece, and that's Blake Griffin.
Yep.
Thankfully for them, they are in Los Angeles, so their free agent situation could go better than others, but they need to start dumping just about DeAndre, honestly, man, I don't know. I really don't know.
Do you move him this year?
I would think about. I would strongly consider. Lord, just keep him away from Golden State.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Can you?
How does he end? How would Golden State trade for him though, with the contract?
They can come up with some kind of creative scenario.
Dude, I put nothing past these teams who want to come up with, especially teams who have proven they don't mind spending money and going deeper into the luxury tax. I put nothing, like, if you ask me right now, would I trade? Now, Iguodala makes a good piece of money. If you ask me right now, would I trade Iguodala and another piece for DeAndre? Would I do it? I mean, I don't know that the Clippers don't do that, because the Clippers are going to want to get from under money.
Right.
So it would have to be somebody on a shorter deal. But man, you got it. I just threw that out there because I just thought about the horror for the rest of the league.
I mean, that's an upgrade over Gonzo.
As long as Patrick McCall wasn't in that trade, hey, I'm Golden State, I'm doing it.
Man, dude, I mean, oh my God, because you saw how effective JaVale McGee could be. So now you're talking about a similar player who has a higher basketball IQ, and oh my God, it's scary. It's just,
and it would be just another example of the rich getting richer.
Oh my God, how do they lose?
Yeah, they don't.
I mean,
you know what though? How do they lose now with who they have?
Right.
If they stay healthy, like, honestly, who beats them?
Yeah, I don't see anybody.
If they stay healthy, man, the only team that has any prayer in the world is a Cleveland Cavaliers team that comes so completely together and things work so this has to be, Isaiah Thomas has to come back healthy. playing at the same level he played last year.
Right.
Derrick Rose has to become a viable 6th man of the year candidate. J.R. Smith has to knock down shots. Kevin Love has to knock down shots. Tristan Thompson has to come back from injury, fine, not miss a beat. Yeah, Jeff Green has to continue to play strong off the bench. Dwayne Wade has to be strong off the bench. That's the only team. That's the only team that has a chance.
And that's if everything goes 100% perfect.
Most of those things have to go right. There's a couple things in, maybe not, but most of those things have to go right.
That's crazy, man.
That's just scary.
Yeah.
A lot of people say it's bad for the league. I don't think it's bad for the league that Golden State's this dominant.
Beat them.
They say it's bad for the league and the people who don't like Golden State.
Yeah, beat them. I mean, I hated Chicago like growing up. You know, I didn't like Chicago because they won so much. But comes down, my dad would like say, "Who's going to beat them?" Right. Nobody out there's going to beat them. He's like, "You." I
had to ask a question because I had this conversation at the gym. Some guy was telling me that in the 90s, everybody hated Michael Jordan. And I said, what? I never remember people hating Michael Jordan. They was like, people hated Mike the same way people hate LeBron. I said, dude, no. People literally despise LeBron James. People wanted to beat Mike because they wanted their teams to beat Mike.
Right. That's the difference.
But they loved Michael Jordan.
Right. They love I love what he brought to the game, but I hated to see Chicago win year after year. I'm like, somebody please beat them. Yeah. But at the same time, like, even with like Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, people are like, you know, ready to like send death threats and, you know, kill their entire family. And
they need to stop.
It's just different. It's just different.
There.
Yeah, it's just different. And just the mentality.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that, Pete. Because someone I follow on Twitter made an interesting comment, and then we'll get out of here after this. But he was saying, if Kevin Durant goes back to OKC, will they open him back with open? Will the fans welcome him back?
Absolutely.
I think. I mean, you kind of have to. I mean, people accepted LeBron back in Cleveland.
That's what I mean, in some Oklahoma City, their fans are bullshit. He's a top 3 player in the NBA. He comes back. Yeah, there's going to be some who will hate him, obviously. But a majority of them, thank you for coming back. Right. Their arms are going to be wide open to give him that big hug.
The one thing I realize is that people care more about their teams than they do about their morals.
Yep.
You know, they do. And so it doesn't matter if you ran over 17 small children in a parking lot. If you can knock down a 3, you're going to have a whole sect of people be like, hey, forget about it, bygones be gone. He wasn't even driving that fast when he hit those toddlers. You know, I mean,
they're going to make excuses.
That this is what they do. You know, I mean, dude, look at like everybody in Washington who absolutely knows that the name of their football team is offensive.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah, you're right.
They don't care. You know why? Because they're used to that team. They love that team, and they don't want nothing to change their team.
Yeah.
It's just the way people are. And it's actually kind of scary, but that's how serious it is. You know, that's how serious people. So they don't do. If Kevin Durant comes back to Oklahoma City, those people are going to be like, hey, thank you for coming back. Now, if he sucks, then they'll say, oh, so you gave your best years to Golden State and you come bring us back to trash.
That's true.
That'll happen.
Oh, yeah.
That'll happen.
Oh, yeah. They know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll happen. But if he comes back and he's the same Durant,
and he gets him a ring.
Oh, it's nothing but claps.
Well, I know that I said. I know we lost Gonzo and Books because they had to go because early mornings and all that stuff. But I wanted to close out with a kind of just like whatever anybody wanted to bring up since you're the last man standing as our guest, Brian. Is there anything you want to bring up? You know, it could be NBA related. It could be outside the NBA. Anything you got that you just want to get off your chest or just throw out there? Anything. It could be work related. It could be anything. We're out there.
I guess the thing that I write MMA. I write combat sports. Period.
Right.
Along with some NBA and mostly a ton of sports video games.
Right.
But I was looking at I look at my writer profile sometimes, and sometimes I don't even realize how much of one of my swim lanes I've been writing in.
Mm-hmm.
But so I wrote a couple of like Black Friday pieces today, but
I saw those.
Yeah, before that, like 8 pieces in a row that I'd written were MMA.
Right.
So it was crazy, right? And one of the last ones I wrote that really kind of was kind of struck a chord with me is, I don't know how many of you guys on the Sim Nation hangout, we were talking about Kobe Covington.
Yeah, I was dying. I was in tears watching that.
That guy, man. I wrote a piece a couple of days ago. It says that the UFC should make an example of Kobe Covington.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe Covington has crafted what he believes and what may very well turn out to be a path to more stardom and to a title shot. And essentially what he has said is, I'm going to be the biggest jerk I can be. I'm going to say things to offend tons of people. And I'm going to use this infamy to grow myself and to grow my brand. And to a degree, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But when you are being racist and hateful, then that's when it's not about, it's not entertaining anymore. And this stuff that he's doing has breached the gap between being a person building their brand, and now you're doing something that to me is damaging the UFC's brand. The UFC already has this kind of a stigma to it to anybody who doesn't love UFC. Anybody who doesn't love MMA they kind of look at mixed martial artists like, oh, you're kind of a savage. You're one of those dudes with all the tats, right? And you elbow people in the mouth. That's kind of how people look at mixed martial artists. They almost have this savage kind of a thing anyway. And you can bet that some sponsors probably do the same type of thing. So now you got this goof over here talking about, using use hate words towards gays and all of that. And it's so crazy because, dude, how you feel is how you feel. There's no reason to be mean. There is never a reason to be mean. So you'll never get any type of you are you're indefensible when you're being mean. It's just all there's to it. So, and then this stuff that you're saying about Brazilians, it's just crazy. It's just totally down the street, and I understand what you're trying to do, but the UFC can not allow him to be rewarded for this behavior. And that's the key. And up to this point, they have not penalized anybody who has said this type of reckless stuff. And if they want to okay, think about it like this. WME IMG bought the UFC in 2016 for $4 billion. Okay. That's about how much the Dallas Cowboys are worth. So you bought an entire sports organization for about the same cost that one. Now it is the most valuable sports organization in American professional sports, but just proportionately, you see that.
You can make an example out of Covington.
Yes, they need to.
Yeah.
But if you want your promotion to grow to a place where you're getting into this absolute mainstream and your promotion is worth more than what you bought it for, you got to start checking guys like that.
Where's the integrity?
Yes, you got to start checking guys like that, because you're going to stay in the savage box.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. That's my closing rant. It's just it's to me, it's just not acceptable.
And I can't wait to see. I know that Czar is going to eventually touch on the esports. I'm curious to see where that goes as far as the integrity across the board, because we all have social media. We're all active. We all see the let's blast 2K for the 5th patch that has actually helped, fix a lot of the issues. But let's trash it because it's the 5th update and we don't know what the hell really went into it, but we want to guess. But we just want to trash just to get attention for our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And that's where I can respect you just as man to man. And then number one, because I enjoy it because you're hilarious. And you don't take yourself serious though. That's the thing. Like you can put together a channel and not take yourself serious and just leave it lighthearted and fun. And that's what I enjoy. There's other gamers that have like Madden, different things that do the same type of thing. And I enjoy that. Like what I hate the worst is you got guys yelling in your, at the screen. Oh, this is trash. Look at this garbage. I'm trying to spam and do this. I'm trying to break the game and, different things like that. Then they take that issue and start attacking the real world individuals that are the dev team or, Ronnie 2K, things like that. And actually,
hey, but Pete, but
everything's
Ronnie's fault, right?
Right.
I mean, essentially on social media it is. And Ronnie can come across arrogant in a lot of the sense, and I think everybody can see different areas to where that could reign true. But at the same time, no man deserves to be attacked, verbally on social media for something that's out of his control. Ronnie is there to be the face of the game. He's not there to say, oh, man, I checked on the servers today, and this is what's going on, or this is not what's going on. Oh, yeah, I'm in contact with the dev team. I guarantee you Ronnie has had probably one discussion all year with the dev team, and that's the extent of where
I don't even think he's had that many. No, I don't, because that's just not his function. And I think a lot of the insults and things are product of ignorance.
Right.
They don't know how it functions.
Right.
So, because if you hear a lot of people say, all they got to do is blah, 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 blah.
Right.
As
ours has been there, done that.
Right. All the time. Anytime you start off a sentence with all you got to do, and you talking about something that you have no idea how it functions, you're wrong.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, it's just ridiculous, man. But I mean, I understand what you're saying, because what's this dude, Buffy, Biffy, Diddy, Bubby, or I can't remember what this guy's name is, for the Madden guy who won. He was about to win the Madden challenge, but then
I saw that.
He was dropping in-bombs and all, and then he had a bunch of stupid black guys standing with him. So he calls us a nigger all the time. We're good with it. Good.
Oh, man,
I'm like, dude, come on, bro. Like, and so that just blows me. And that was his defense.
And that's the thing. Like, you gave up your integrity to be on a YouTube channel that might get you attention for 5 minutes, but you just lost all your core value.
It's insane, because this is the reason that I tell people about the usage of that word, period. And I actually had a conversation with a very, 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 very popular YouTuber who loves that word. And I told him, I said, dude, I know what you're doing. And I see what you're doing. I said, but when we were at a function in Hoffman Estates in Illinois, at where
Hoffman Estates by the Sears Center.
Yeah, we were at the Sears Center.
Okay.
And we all played together. And I'm looking at the majority of the fans that are walking over to this guy, and they're like 7 to 8 year old white kids, and I'm like, dude, and I pointed to him. I said, that's who you talking to.
And they think it's okay to replicate that.
Yeah. I said, that's who you're talking to, man.
Yeah.
I said, that's what you want to give them. I said, I said, dude, you got 3 million subs. That's what you want to give them. And I'm not going to take credit for saying, oh, he's toned down it, but he has greatly matured.
And that's what it takes. It takes somebody looking like, I'll give an example, and I'm not going to go into detail because I can't, but from the outside looking in, it's easy to say, oh, this is easy to do, change this and do this in video games, or look at it this way. And then when you flip it around and you get the knowledge given to you of what it takes, you're like, all right, I probably need to be a little bit more humble and I'm a humble, easygoing guy. But sometimes things can't be taken, from looking afar. When you get into it, it can't be looked at the same way. And I think a lot of people don't take a step back to say, all right, I was wrong. Like, I thought I knew this, but damn, this is a lot. Like, who would have thought this went into it, or so-and-so works on this and they did this, and then this changes this and this does this. Like, so many components that you're not thinking of, because you're thinking, all right, I'm looking at an interface of a game. Oh, that's easy to fit. Like, you don't realize the 60 hours it takes just to prep something, let alone the 180 hours or more to even get something functionally working, and then countless more hours to sync up multiple areas of departments to get it going. So just the respect of video game developers across the board in any game, I respect so much more now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, it's something, because like I get a lot of flack. People say all I do is support 2K and blah blah blah. All this stuff.
You come critical with some stuff.
But this is. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've had my integrity attacked for my views on 2K. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, and this is the biggest reason why. And I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or nothing, because Lord knows I'm only where I'm at by the grace of God, by blessings that I've received. So it's not like I'm special or great.
Right.
But this is the reason why I work in the space that I work in. And these people who are giving this blind rage kind of a criticism are working in the space that they're working in. Right. There is a way to criticize. There is a professional way to criticize. And you can step back and say, oh, well, you don't keep it real. No, you keep it ignorant.
Right.
And there's a difference. You know, I can point out to you and I can say, hey, this part of the game there has room for improvement. This part of the game has room for improvement. But if I don't say this game is trash, it's some hot mess, and all this dude suck, and he suck, and that guy suck, and all of them suck. If I don't say that, then now I'm not keeping it real.
Right.
But I actually have picked out specifically areas and talked specifically about things that need to be changed. But you just said it sucked, but you got more virtual street cred than I got.
Right. But at the end of the day, you're going to be the one that sits at the table in a meeting.
Absolutely.
Across from, whatever game development, company, and they actually take you for face value versus somebody else that can't talk their way out of it.
And it's funny because I've had so many items from my wish list over the years implemented into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you go back and you look at my wish list that I've done for the last 4 years, almost every single thing that I've put, I won't say almost everything, but quite a few have made it into the game. I asked for horse in my court. Horse is in my court.
All-time teams, I know that. I mean, you put together countless years of, getting the, all-time. I mean, that's your thing. That's what you're known for.
And I was so cool. I so appreciated LD2K saying guys like Mazik have been creating these rosters all along.
Yeah.
And we thought it would be cool to just put it in the game, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That was dope.
Yeah.
I mean, they screwed up the create a player thing.
Yeah.
Completely. It sucks. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Really, really bad. But
I think they know for next year, though.
I do think that, and I think I think it was you, Pete, who talked about why it wasn't going to get much better this year, even after the update, because they went the route of going with scanned templates,
right?
And there's only so much facial sculpting that you can do,
right?
Once you go there, but see, that just shows me that a lot of these decisions are being made by people who are not hardcore gamers.
Right.
Because no hardcore gamer who likes to create rosters would have told you that was the right way to go.
Right. And they're not. I mean, you got to realize most of the generation is just wants to pick up and play. And that's the extent. They don't want to dive into, all right, well, let me put these 90s teams in, or let me do this. I'm a proponent of let me edit as much as I can. Like the ability to edit the staffs, as far as the assistant coaches, that's huge to me. And people can say, well, that's the stupidest thing. Who cares about that? I do. Like, it's a 0.1% of the community that wants that. Or, like I advocated so much to push to get all missing legends that aren't in, like Boozer and Mehmet Okur, like just contacting them and trying to push to say, hey, not saying I work for 2K, but hey, here's the contact info for the Alumni Association. Here's Ronnie 2K's info. Let's see if we can link it together. Now, a lot of those players are being implemented in my team now, and I'm not taking credit for that.
I saw somewhere that some guys have been added to the all-time teams.
No,
I haven't seen anything. I
saw it on Twitter today that a couple of guys got added to all-time teams.
Today? I haven't looked at it.
I saw it on Twitter today. I don't know who it was. I don't know who's been added, but I saw someone tweet it out.
Caron Butler was in play. I know that, and I know Carlos Boozer was in play, but I don't know where that's ended up. But I haven't looked at the update today to see.
I haven't put the game.
I saw that there was an update, but I didn't see anybody saying that anyone was added.
Yeah, see, I'll have to.
As usual, my 2K is on, so.
Yeah, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't fired it up at all today. I'll have to look when we get off just because I'm curious to see what, if anything changed. But
hey, is my thing still choppy?
No, you're good. You've been good.
Okay, cool. Cool. I wanted to throw something out real quick.
Yeah, go.
As we're just going on.
Yeah.
So the high school basketball season, for some places it started. It's upon us. It just started yesterday for Illinois. Well, at least where I'm right outside of Rockford. Right. So in Freeport. Brian knows where that's at.
Freeport. So you guys are in the same state, so you're.
Yep. So I just want to, everybody that's out there, go watch your local high school talent because there's a lot of good players out there. Like tomorrow, I'm fortunate. Whitney Young is in Rockford. They're playing Rockford Jefferson, so I will be there tomorrow night at 7:00. Nice. I want to see this Whitney Young. I think in was it the Sun Times they got him ranked 6th in Chicago. So I'm interested to see this team. I haven't seen many Chicago teams live in person. So
so let me ask a question. Was Caron Butler not on the all-time Wizards?
No, he was not. He
is now.
So they
did
add some guys.
Okay, so they added them.
Did they add Boozer to the Bulls?
Flip to see if Boozer's on the 10-11.
Was Rod Strickland on the Wizards?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
He's on Portland too.
Okay.
And you just said, Pete, that Caron Butler was in play.
Yeah, he was in play. Boozer in play. Al Harrington.
Did that stuff ever work out with Rashard?
Not that I'm aware. I will not say no. Not that I am aware of. You were the one that was all over that as far as Rashard. I could never get him. I got in contact with some people. I sent his agent, a message over Facebook to see. But it just so happened that when I was doing all that, it's when Hurricane Harvey hit. So I know that messed some things up. I mean, I'm not gonna name names, but there was 34 total that I got responses from that were all about doing what they need to do to get the paperwork filled out to get in to the game. I don't know. I have nothing to do with 2K. I have no pool, no nothing. So anybody that's viewing this, don't come at me and say, "Oh well, good job with this," because I don't have anything to do with it.
Why is Michael Jordan not on the all-time Wizards, Pete?
Carlos Boozer is in.
I see. I knew he was in play.
Is he on the 10-11 Bulls now?
Yeah.
Let me see.
As well?
Oh, is he? They have him on the all-time Bulls or the all-time Jazz?
He's on the all-time Jazz.
Okay, good. All right,
he is on the 10-11 Bulls.
Nice.
What now that team is kind of complete.
Al Harrington flipped to Golden State for the 06-07. He was another one that might have been. I guess we can go ahead and
Al Harrington is there.
Nice. Okay. I guess we can go ahead and just wrap it up, Matt, because we can talk a second off air. People are probably like, "What the hell are you guys going through a roster?"
Hey, real quick before we go off here, Brian. Hey, let the people know where they can find some of your work at, where they can find you on Twitter.
On Twitter, I am Unique Mazik, and on I write for Forbes. So if you just Google Brian Mazik Forbes, I will come up and I will be looking just as sexy as I look like.
Yes. Outstanding stuff, fellas. All right, Pete, let everybody know where they can find you at.
You can find me at Pete Toll. So it's PETETOAL NBA on Twitter. Always talking basketball and a little bit of 2K. Not as much because I have a 1-year-old. He'll be one next week, so
Nice.
I don't get to get on the sticks as much as I want to. Even though I did buy the Xbox One X, and my wife's like, "How are you going to play this?" And there's no way you have the time to do that. I still find time to get on the sticks a little bit.
Nice.
But real quick, I want to wish you gentlemen a happy Thanksgiving and everybody out there watching.
You.
Thank you.
Seeing this afterwards, happy Thanksgiving. Hope everybody enjoys spending time with their loved ones, family, friends, whoever that may be. So,
yeah, and everybody will be. I'm sure we'll come back next week. I never know what day because it just depends when everybody.
We get on the lightest NBA schedule day, pretty much.
Yeah, it will never be on a Friday because I know that's Czar's time for the hangout, so I don't do it on Fridays. I do not want to conflict with that.
Shout out real quick to Big Mama and Czar because not only do we support both of them tremendously, without both of them, none of us would know each other.
That's
so
right.
I'm thankful for that, first and foremost. But just great content, always supportive of us, both Big Mama and Big Czar. Tweeted out and retweeted the show link. So very appreciative as always to both of them.
Yeah. And one more shout out, to one of our old co-hosts who's now doing his thing with the NBA front office. I want to give a big shout out to Keith Smith, man.
Absolutely, Keith is awesome. I'm still doing a little bit of the show as we can there. So we're back in action, so to speak. So
Pete, let everybody know what Keith's Twitter is so they can follow him because he's an outstanding NBA follow.
It's at Keith Smith NBA, and then you can it's at NBA front office. You can look up the Almighty Baller Network and find a bevy of podcasts on there. We just happen to be one of them. So, yep.
Yes. And then I just got to give a quick shout out to Byron. I know he'll probably watch this at some point.
Byron, I got to do a podcast with you again, man. It's been too long.
Hey, he was supposed to be on that one night, and he just never showed up.
That's all right. It was Warriors talking. You didn't want to be. You didn't want to get in.
I wanted him on because he's the biggest Warriors. Him and Alana are the two biggest Warriors haters. So yeah, shout out to Alana as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's gonna wrap us up tonight. But sometime next week I'll get it out. I know it's the holiday, so just everybody pay attention on that follows me on Twitter. I'll put that link out. But just a happy Thanksgiving to everybody's, and we're out.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Peace.